So it will run on V3. The reason that it's a little different is because with Uniswap V2, you can just drain the pool and get the ratio correct. Where you have to be careful on the fixer bots is when it comes with V3 is because they're running ranges. So what they'll end up doing is basically setting parameters on what the width is on certain tokens it wants to do, because where you'd have a problem is if I set liquidity for Hex at $150 and all you did was run the fixer bot, it would grab that buy at that height, and then I'd be able, basically you'd be able to game the system. So what they'll end up doing is they haven't disclosed it for good reasons, but they'll take pricing plus or minus some range on most assets. So they'll still be able to get a lot of that liquidity out of V3. And it's just once it's applied, it'll be in PulseX that'll be symmetrical. So, back to Uniswap V2.
Yeah, I've been wondering about the gaming, and not so much that I want to take advantage. I just want fair play on the launch. And I think everybody wants to feel like they got a fair play launch of PulseChain, PulseX, those two. And I understand what Walrus is saying about, people can game a system when they do know that they can set liquidity pair as a new pair and be the AMM basically, or the fixer bot basically give them advantage. It's going to be interesting, but I still, I don't know if it gives me less confidence to say that a testnet occurs, people get to play with the UI, they do all of the things that are available in PulseX. Maybe there's a single side staking option in protocol instead of only validating and things like that, as far as people generating PulseChain on PulseChain return, through validating or some single side stake kind of protocol. And same thing with PulseX. But I'm also apprehensive about engaging and not having the fixer bot run where I know how the pools are going to play out when it actually goes live, when there's actually a launch and we have a window. So do you have commentary about that, Walrus? Do you have, if you could only choose one, do you want to be in the blind or do you want to be in the know?
Blind, only because we always are going to assume that more is going to go on than what really does. So for those in the space, we looked at what was going on with, what are all these whales going to do during the sacrifice? They're going to try to hold the price of Hex up super high, get their TWAP, and then bring it down. Much less happens than we think. And then we get we get the one death candle that people remember. So because they have that spike moment that we think that there's more that went on than what really happened. Same thing with PulseX. There's always that buy the rumor, sell the news, where people assume that once it comes out, there's going to be this explosive, reaction positively or negatively. And it's almost always less than what we assume. So I think you run it blind. We trust those guys to have it within inside of range. It's going to be an imperfect science no matter what you do. And less people will be able to game it to less degree than we ever assume in general.
Well, I think there's an open question too and I believe RH is talked about this. Okay, we want to, empty most of the liquidity pools. We're not going to be able to get them all. What happens? How does that affect the pairs, the coins, the adjustments, the fixing? How does that affect it if we get 90% of all the stuff with the fixer bot, but not the other 10%, for example? Is that something?
Some people make more. I mean, there'll be some people that snipe and see that there's a liquidity pool that didn't get tapped, and they'll find that ARB opportunity, and they'll either stay in the system or they'll exit out into Ethereum and have to buy back later when prices ratchet.
Yep. Yeah. Whatever you miss is just going to cause ARB events. There's going to be all these ARB plays regardless. The thing that you would kind of hope is that you would hope that the people who are taking the time to write those things are also going to participate in the system. So hopefully you see more of the people who take all these opportunities are people who are trying to gather value and then engage with the chain rather than, whatever you want to call some of these other networks that would come in. So while you do want to minimize those for yourselves, make sure you're not the one having all that value extracted. Overall, it'll probably just end up with, a lot of value collection from people who care about the chain.